Here, EP39, Bitcoin Dust. Explained. Last episode, we talked about UTXO consolidation, combining smaller coins into fewer larger coins. That leads to the next question. What happens when the pieces are so small that spending them may not be worth it? That is the dust problem. In Bitcoin, your wallet balance is made of UTXOs, unspent transaction outputs. A UTXO is a spendable piece of Bitcoin. When you spend, your wallet selects one or more pieces as inputs. The transaction pays someone else and usually sends change back to you. So your wallet is not one blob. It is a pile of spendable pieces. Dust is what happens near the bottom of that pile. The beginner version is simple. A tiny UTXO can become expensive to spend because spending it takes block space. The fee is not based only on the dollar value of the coin. The fee is based on transaction size, and transaction size depends partly on inputs. So a small UTXO still needs data to be spent. If the fee required to spend the piece is close to the value of the piece may be economically ugly. If the fee is higher than the piece, it may be economically pointless. That is why people call it dust. It is technically yours, but moving it may cost more than it is worth. Bitcoin Optech uses a precise term, uneconomical outputs. Those are outputs worth less than the fees it will cost to spend them. That wording matters because people use dust in different ways. Sometimes they mean outputs below a dust limit. Sometimes they mean tiny UTXOs generally. Sometimes they mean dust attacks, where small amounts are sent to wallets to try to create linkages later. Those are related ideas, but they are not identical. For beginners, the practical lesson is this. Small pieces are not free just because they are small. Every spendable piece has a future spending cost. Imagine someone gives you a box of pennies. It is money. But if the toll booth only accepts rolls, carrying loose pennies can become a problem. Bitcoin dust is not the same as pennies, but the feeling is similar. The value is there. The friction is in using it. This is why tiny withdrawals matter. If you repeatedly withdraw very small amounts on-chain, you may create many small UTXOs. They may look harmless when fees are low. But later, if fees rise, spending those pieces can become harder or more expensive. That does not mean small stacking is bad. It means the shape of the stack matters. The same total amount can be easy or annoying to spend, depending on how many pieces it is split into. $100 in one bill is not the same physical object as $100 in pennies. Same total, different handling cost. Bitcoin has a version of that idea. The key difference is that Bitcoin handling cost is not about weight. It is about block space. Inputs take space. Space has a market price. That market price changes. So dust is not just a tiny number problem, it is a tiny number plus fee market problem. A piece that feels usable in one fee environment may feel wasteful in another. That is why dust connects to consolidation. Consolidation can turn many small pieces into fewer larger pieces. But consolidation also has trade-offs. If you combine unrelated UTXOs, you may link histories. If you consolidate without labels, you may not know what stories you are joining. If you wait until fees are high, the cleanup itself may be expensive. So the answer is not always consolidate dust. And it is not ignore dust forever. The answer is understand what tiny pieces do to future spending. There is another important distinction. Dust policy is not the same thing as Bitcoin's 21 million supply rule. The supply cap is consensus. Nodes reject blocks that violate the money rules. Dust limits are about relay and mining policy, what transactions nodes are willing to pass along or miners are willing to include under standard rules. That distinction matters because beginners can hear dust limit and think it is the same type of rule as maximum supply. It is not. One protects the monetary rule, the other helps protect the network and UTXO set from uneconomical spam. Both matter, but they live at different layers. A wallet user does not need to memorize every policy detail to get the point. The point is that Bitcoin is not an account system where every tiny line item is equally easy to move forever. Bitcoin is a UTXO system. If your wallet has many tiny pieces, future spending may require more inputs. More inputs can mean a larger transaction. A larger transaction can mean higher fees. That is the dust lesson. The privacy lesson is also real. Tiny unwanted outputs can be used in dust attacks. An attacker sends a tiny amount to a wallet and watches whether it later gets spent together with other coins. If that happens, the attacker may learn something about wallet ownership or transaction relationships. That does not mean every tiny incoming output is an emergency. It does mean you should not blindly sweep unknown pieces together without understanding the story. Again, labels and coin control matter. Labels help you remember context. Coin control helps you see what is being spent. Consolidation helps you reshape pieces when appropriate. Dust teaches why the smallest pieces deserve attention. These are not separate trivia facts. They are one workflow. The wallet shows a balance. The chain sees pieces. The user needs to understand both. So what should a beginner take away? First, dust means tiny outputs can become uneconomical to spend. Second, the problem depends on fees and transaction size, not only the face value of the UTXO. Third, many tiny withdrawals can create future friction. Fourth, cleaning up pieces can help, but it can also link histories. Fifth, do not treat the wallet balance as the whole story. The shape matters. Here's the part that makes dust confusing for normal people. Wallets are designed to make Bitcoin feel simple. That is mostly good. You should not need to understand every byte of a transaction just to receive Bitcoin, but the simplification has a cost. The screen may show one balance even though the wallet is managing many pieces underneath, so the user thinks in dollars or sats total. The network settles individual outputs. That mismatch is where dust surprises people. You may think, I have enough Bitcoin, but the wallet may be thinking, I have enough only if I combine many small pieces. That combination can make the transaction larger. It can make the fee higher. It can link histories. It can produce change. It can reshape the wallet again. That is why self-custody is not only about guarding the seed phrase. Guarding the seed phrase protects access. Understanding UTXOs protects usability. Those are different skills. One keeps you from losing the wallet. The other keeps you from being surprised by what the wallet has become. Dust also teaches humility about small amounts. In a low-fee environment, a tiny UTXO may seem fine. In a high-fee environment, the same piece can feel trapped. The SAT amount did not change. The fee market changed. That is why absolute rules are dangerous. People want a magic number. Below this is bad. Above this is safe. But the economics depend on transaction weight, fee rates, script type, wallet behavior, and what you are trying to accomplish. The beginner does not need to calculate all of that manually. The beginner does need to know that the number on screen is not the whole story. There is also a receiving side lesson. If you use services that send tiny on-chain withdrawals, you may be building dust without noticing. If you receive many tiny payments directly on-chain, you may be building future friction. If you accept small outputs from unknown sources, you may be creating a labeling problem. None of that means small payments are evil. It means the layer matters. Some activity may belong on Lightning. Some may belong on chain. Some may need batching. Some may need better timing. This episode is not telling you which tool to use. It is giving you the question, is this creating useful spendable pieces or tiny fragments that future me will have to clean up? That question alone upgrades the way you look at a wallet. Another common mistake is to think dust is only a problem for people with tiny balances. Not quite. A large holder can still have messy UTXOs. A small holder can have clean UTXOs. The issue is not only net worth. The issue is structure. How many pieces? What size? What history? What labels? What future spending plan? That is why dust belongs in the same series as labels, recovery maps, PSBTs, coin control, and consolidation. It is not a side quest. It is wallet literacy. And wallet literacy is what turns self-custody from a slogan into a practice. This is not a reason to panic. It is a reason to graduate from my wallet says I have Bitcoin to I understand the pieces my wallet controls. That is the self-custody upgrade. Access is step 1. Understanding is step 2. The small pieces teach the lesson because they make the hidden structure visible. Bitcoin gives you final settlement. Final settlement is powerful. But final settlement does not erase the cost of using block space. It does not erase privacy trade-offs. It does not erase the need to understand your own UTXO set. Dust is the reminder. The smallest coins may be the ones that force you to learn how the wallet actually works. Next episode, we zoom out from dust into fees, why block space gets expensive, why the fee market exists, and why cheap transactions are not guaranteed by the protocol.